Don't you hate having someone else take a 20-minute turn? Don't you also hate having someone end the game out of nowhere? Maybe this has happened to you, but it was an accident. It was because you did not playtest the deck enough, and one of those things might have happened on your table, and your opponents might have been pretty pissed about it. Well, today I'm going to show you how to build Spellslinger and Storm decks that feel good for your opponents and for yourself. Let's get into the theory. So, if we choose to run too many small spells and small incremental damage, we're going to end up taking lots of actions, and our turns are going to take forever, only to end in some complicated loop, or maybe playing our whole deck taking too long time, and everyone's going to be disappointed. The whole table is not going to like watching you play while they cannot do anything. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if we only set up damage amplifiers or some kind of big damage amplifier to just slam down one spell and get everyone out of the game in one turn, it's also not going to be fun for everyone else, but also not for us, because all we're doing is we're just setting up, and then just playing one spell to win the game, and then what, right? So the key is to aim for somewhere in the middle, where it's going to be fun for the whole table. And when it comes to Storm, I found the sweet spot to be between 5 and 10 spells ish, right? Because then your turn will last less than 10 minutes if you're inexperienced. That's my alarm, sorry. And less than 5 minutes if you're very experienced with the deck. And that's also one thing I'm going to tell you guys. With decks like that I'm going to show you today, experience matters, and learn how to goldfish your deck, test your deck, learn how to play it smoothly first by yourself before having 3 other people watch you figure out how to do a thing, and maybe they can't even help you out because they don't know how the deck works. So make sure you have playtested the deck and you know what you're doing beforehand, just to know some of the lines and some of the things you can do so that people don't have to wait for you thinking. We are going to talk about Airghast Erupting Nullkite today. This commander comes with an emerge ability, so basically, if we have a creature out that we can sacrifice, this commander can only cost 2, 3, or 4 mana most of the time. And he will give all of our other creatures emerge, which is great because the deck that we're going to build is going to be a Storm deck. Most people that built this deck built him like, oh, I want to play big stuff. I want to play these big Eldrazi, big dragons, with emerge, right? Or the other side to play this deck is with Theft, which is more of a control deck. You take control of other people's creatures, sacrifice them to play your own. I have created a new category for this deck, which is Storm, and apparently there was one other person who really liked my deck and made his own version of it, or her own version. And it's exciting to see this pop up on EDH Rec. But I'm gonna teach you guys how to play this deck. So because each creature has emerge, we're going to choose as many colorless creatures as possible that are very close to each other in mana cost, so that we can sacrifice one creature to play the next creature. And we're going to make sure that those creatures either make us mana or draw us cards, so that when we sacrifice one creature, we're sure to play another one, and another one, and another one. And that way, we can storm off, and we can play Spellslinger with artifact creatures. A colorless Spellslinger deck, basically. red is only there for our damage amplifiers. Let's take a look. So this deck wants as many cantrip creatures as possible that can replace themselves. It also wants a lot of triggers from cast, ETB, and sack. Every time we do our plan, we want to draw cards, mana, or damage in order to get us closer to winning. And we're going to go full glass cannon with this deck. So we can only afford to run removal when it does not take up a slot in our deck, because otherwise we're going to be playing creatures to draw cards, and suddenly we're going to draw a removal spell or something, an interaction spell, that does not give us our next creature. And that's called bricking. And if we brick, we are not going to have smooth turns. Now, we do want a chance to still brick, because that is part of the game and it's part of chance, and the probability is a fun aspect to play this deck, because it takes experience to play this deck well. So, we gotta find a balance. And I think that I did find the right balance here. As I said, 5 to 10 spells is the sweet spot that all players at the table are going to be very happy to see. So yeah, I'll show you guys the exact ratios. So we run 24 cantrip creatures that replace themselves. Clone Shell, one of the best ones. It actually gives us a few options of what we want, and it puts it straight on the battlefield. Cards like Clockwork Fox are very great, because you sacrifice them, you draw one card. Clockwork Fox is the best one of all of them, because it draws us 2 cards. And then we have some flexible options too, like Atsushi, who can draw us cards or make us treasures. Let's keep going through these really quick. They're all very similar, and most of these creatures are also very budget. So you can build this deck on a very cheap budget as well, or just proxy up some cards, because there's some of the lands that are pretty expensive. We run 2 tutoring cantrip creatures as well. So Imperial Recruiter, Hoarding Dragon, Junk Diver, which does have a loop in this deck, but we don't really need it to win. If it comes up, it comes up. It's a 3-card loop. It's not that easy to pull off, but yeah. With Myr Retriever, exactly. And these are all cards that still replace themselves. Scrapbook Trawler, one of the best ones. Again, Solemn. Workshop Assistant, also great. Scrapbook Mark, probably our worst one, because we will have to discard a card, but we can always discard a land. And here come our big cantrip creatures. We got the 3 Kozileks. They all come in, replace themselves, and then we can sacrifice them to play the next creature. I know, kind of disrespectful to do to an Eldrazi Titan, who is legendary, but I'm sorry, we just need you for the card draw, and then you can go. Very rarely we will need these for their other modes. And then, just a few other big cards that draw us lots of cards or replace themselves. Artisan of Kozilek even brings in a creature from the graveyard. Good card. Okay, so now we're playing 5 to 10 creatures in our turn that we go off. What do we want to do? We want to play Colorless Spellslinger with Storm win cons, because it's fun, because it's wacky, because we just want to do it. Okay, so Stormscale Scion is a new card that just came in with the new Takir Dragon Storm set, and it's also a creature, so it can be reduced to just 2 red mana. And it has Storm, so we're going to be able to make a lot of Scions. Empty the Warrens makes us a lot of Goblins. And Devilish Valet, basically we play him before we start sacrificing our creatures. And this way we can get out 1 player. Okay, just whoever is easiest to attack. And then we'll take care of the other 2 with our other damage abilities after, which are going to be our pingers. Our pingers are good if we have them at the start, or if we draw them while we're digging, because we can just emerge them, and then our win cons are going to be even more potent. So pingers, always good. All of these ones are also either pretty hard to kill because they replace themselves, or they come in with an extra copy, like the Agate Instigator. So very good cards. They all count as creatures. They do not have us brick. Terror of the Peaks, Warstorm Surge, and Stalking Vengeance are going to be our big pingers. So when we play stuff like our big Eldrazi's, we want them to do a lot of damage and not just 1 or 2. So we have a combination of these two cards. Also, Terror of the Peaks and Warstorm Surge good to as removal as well, in case we need it. Warstorm Surge, not a creature, but as I said, very good reason to run it. It does have us brick sometimes, but whenever we draw it, we're going to make sure that our next turn's Storm turn is going to be better. And we have some damage amplifiers. I used to run this deck without these guys because it would just make us less likely to brick because they do require colors. But they are pretty essential to make the game more fun. Because, as I said, no one wants to sit there, watch you play by yourself. These things will guarantee us that we can win with just 5 to 10 creatures in one turn that we play, or in 2 or 3 turns, basically. If we play 5 creatures over 3 turns, that's also good. Quick note, the Dominus is a little bit harder to remove, so that's great. And the Fiendish Duo also triggers, also activates when our opponents attack each other. We might make ourselves a bit of a target with that, so be careful, but it's a very good damage spell. Okay, next we have to run cost reducers. Why do we have to run cost reducers? Because when we play a 3 mana creature and we emerge it, and we want to emerge a 4 mana creature, we would have to pay 1 extra mana for that. But with cost reducers, since the cost is reduced, we can just play the other card for free, and that way we can keep cheating mana costs until we keep going to our big creatures. So Cloud Key, very good. Helm of Awakening. Be careful when you play this once again. It might snowball things out of hand, but we have to choose our moments with these cards. Foundry Inspector and Inventors Familiar are going to be our creature versions, so we do not break when we draw them. Great cards. Semblance Anvil reduces by 2, even better. Same as Planar Gate. And the Microsoft Golem reduces by even more than 2, and it's also a creature, so we prevent us from bricking. Small ramp package, just to get our spells out early. Soul Ring is there just for as an Urza Saga target, and it just makes 2 mana. We basically count this as a land in this deck. And then 3 creatures that can just make mana. With haste, they can just come in, tap right away, make the mana, and we sacrifice them. Even without haste, they're okay. They can just cycle themselves for another creature. We have our Storm mana creators in Birgi and Crime Novelist that make us red mana whenever we continue our plan. These are very important cards. Our win cons, our plan becomes more consistent once we have one of these on the board. Another one is the Glaring Fleshraker, which also makes creatures, so extra ping effects, and it also has a ping effect stapled to it. What do we want more? And Skittering Persecutor as a worse version of the Glaring Fleshraker, also quite good. We also want, in addition to our mana producers, we want stuff that draws us cards. Even if most of our creatures are already cantrippy creatures, drawing 2 cards from a creature will guarantee us that we can keep going in case we need to keep going a little bit more. The Canoptek Spyder is very good at doing that because most of our creatures are artifact creatures. Skull Clamp, we can equip it before we emerge the next creature to draw an extra 2. Helps us a lot, especially if we have the mana producers. So mana producers plus Skull Clamp will make sure that we don't break very fast and that we have a successful turn. Remember, our opponents might be interacting with us as well while we try to go for one of these turns. So having cards that give us more cards than a little bit more cards than what we actually need is important. Okay. Quicksmith Genius, a way to discard our lands away and draw new fodder. Weatherlight Completed. It takes a while for this card to come online. I think it needs 7 creatures to die before it can actually draw us cards every time something dies. But before that, it will scry for us, which means we can just bottom all the lands that we find. And yeah, this is a solid 2 mana card that will just keep us going. It will brick us though, so I had to make some tough decisions here. And Scrap Trawler, just very solid. It does everything we want it to do. Roaming Throne is a good all-rounder card because it can act as a damage doubler just by calling the creature type dragon, for example. It can act as one of our mana producers, either as the goblin or as the god. For example, we can also choose the Canoptek Spyder to draw more cards. Yeah, we have a few ritual creatures. So ritual creatures, they come in, they give us mana, or they leave and give us mana, which will also guarantee us that we can keep going. And also, these help us play our commander faster. So basically, these make sure we can play our commander turn 4 or turn 5, which after that, very likely that turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, we can already go for turns that deal 20 to 30 damage to our opponents. Yeah, Priest of Urbrask, the Cave Guard, a little bit more on the expensive side, but we can emerge it and it's going to be even cheaper, and Atsushi. A few haste enablers. The haste enablers are there to mainly just to tap our creatures for mana right away in case they're mana producers, or because sometimes we do want to attack with Annihilator in case we need the removal. Otherwise, I basically just chose slots in this for these cards that we already had filled anyway otherwise. So Arena of Glory is a land, and the other two, Crashing Drawbridge and Anger, are creatures, so we don't lose any agency in our deck. We can keep our plan going, our Glass Cannon plan, and it's very important not to break. 35 lands. We're on the Urza's package. We want as many colorless lands that make 2 mana as possible in this deck in order to guarantee that we can play a lot of colorless creatures here. And of course the Urza support package for the Tower, Plant and Mine. So we have the Saga, the Cave and the Workshop, as well as the Planar Nexus, which also helps us get our Tron lands online, making multiple mana is important. Eldrazi Temple makes us 2 mana for our commander and a few other creatures. Ancient Tomb always makes us 2 mana. City of Traitors makes us 2 mana for 2 turns, sometimes 3 turns. So that's probably all we will need with this card. And Ugin's Labyrinth, we can make extra mana, and then later when we need the bigger creature, we can put it back into our hand. As well as some more utility lands in Birdrune, Cavern of Souls, Talon Gates. So a few ways here to interact here and there. Inventors Fair and Sanctum of Ugin as tutors on our lands because they don't take up a land slot. And then Prismatic Vista as a good segue into our fetch lands. We have Shadowcall Smashing, Sundering Eruption, and Pinnacle Monk just to keep our plan going while having some kind of interaction, removal, recursion still in our package because they are free, otherwise we'd just be running mountains. A channel land, another legendary land which we can mess up other people's combats by giving their legendary creatures first strike, so this is a pretty funny card. And Remnant Ruins, a little bit of an extra benefit than a mountain. Great Furnace is an artifact land. I think we have a few synergies with artifact, but not many, like Metalcraft or something like that. Sorry, not Metalcraft. The Affinity, there we go. Arena of Glory, and 4 fetch lands to thin out our deck a little bit more. We can only run these 4 plus the Prismatic Vista, since we are mono red, basically. Yeah. And 6 mountains. So this mana base, it uses the 50-50 rule. So 50% plus a few more are going to take care of our colors, and the other 50% is going to take care of our colorless and utility lands. And keep in mind, a lot of our colorless lands do make 2 mana, so we're going to be able to accelerate that way as well. For our removal, we can only run removal in this deck if the slot is otherwise not lost. So Kozilek, the 2 Kozileks and the Artisan of Kozilek, They can either interact with our opponents with Annihilator, we can give them haste as well, or we can counter some spells. But they also replace themselves. So this is very important. We're not going to put any removal spells in this deck or interaction spells that take away one of our slots. And then, of course, we have the land package that I already introduced before, and as well as Wormstorm Surge and Tear of the Peaks, which both count as win cons, but also we can ping away our opponent's annoying creatures if they're a little bit on the hateberry side or they're just really annoying. Then we can do that as well. Yeah. This is the package we can run without losing any slots in this deck, and it's very important to note that the more you draw to your deck, the less specific answers you need. So because this deck cycles through a lot of its cards, we will need less removal and less interaction because we're going to find them more often. And Kozilek also shuffles our graveyard back into our deck, so we're also pretty safe from mill that way. Yeah, thank you for sticking till the end. I will challenge you also to build some Storm decks and Spellslinger decks that are a little bit out of the ordinary, maybe with some commanders that usually do not run those strategies. And I wish you a lot of fun and your table a lot of fun with this new system that I came up with. Try to aim for the center. Don't go too far on the too many spells and too few spells. I think 5 to 10 spells are very good. And make sure to practice your deck and master your deck and the lines of it when you play Storm and Spellslinger before you take it to the table, just so everyone has a better time. And even if people have questions, you can explain to them slowly what you're doing, and everyone is going to enjoy you as a player a whole bunch. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Great having you guys.